This screencast is an introduction to indefinite pronouns that we covered on March 25th and 26th before we left for spring break. And we kind of did indefinite pronouns by themselves because they are a lot more complicated than the other pronouns that we've been working on. So indefinite, we started by looking at what does the name sound like. We found the prefix in, and we said the prefix in makes us remember words like indelicate, insufficient, which mean not. So when we think of indefinite, we're thinking of not definite pronouns, pronouns that do not refer to a specific noun. What makes these so difficult is that we have three different sets here, and we didn't have to memorize all of them, but I said that you do need to recognize them. And so we talked about grouping these together, like any of these that end with body, any of these that end with one, anyone, no one, someone, everyone, and any of these that end with thing. And for some reason, I have thing on there, nothing on there twice. But if we look at those singulars, a lot of them we can group together and not necessarily have to memorize, but be able to recognize. The plurals, there are only 4, and so I did say that you should remember those. Those are both few, many, and several. And then we've got this special list over here. All, none, any, some, and most. And the problem with these is that they can be both singular and plural. And so in this box I had you write, oh, I don't mean to do that. What I had you write in there was, no, that's gone, antecedent. So if you were looking at one of the indefinite pronouns and couldn't decide whether it was singular or plural, you have to find the antecedent. So looking at our example sentences, and these are the ones that are on your actual notes that have all the different types of pronouns, we find the indefinite pronoun everyone, and we would look over at our list and see that everyone is singular. So I have you circle it, label it singular, and any pronoun later in the sentence that refers back to everyone because it's singular also has to be singular. So we say his or her, or if you want to just choose one, you can pick his or you could pick her, but within the context of your writing you would want to be consistent with maintaining the same gender pronoun. The next one we find is many, and so we would look over at our list, and many is plural. It's always plural, so that makes it a little easier. In agreement, we just use a plural pronoun there. Now some, of course, I deleted it over here on accident. Some can be both, and so we've got to look for what is the antecedent for some refers to capsule, and since capsule is singular, then some has to be singular, and any other pronoun that refers to it also has to be singular. So for an example of when it's plural, here's some referring to capsules. Capsules is plural, so some is plural, so any pronoun that refers back to that, time capsules or some, also has to be plural. So in this sentence, all of the team attended the game for its or their award. All is the indefinite pronoun. Of course, I deleted it over here, but it could be either or. So we look at its antecedent. It's referring to the team. Now this one's a little confusing because team is a collective noun and makes us think of a plural, but team by itself is actually singular. So if team is singular, then all has to be singular, and we need its to refer back because it's singular. And just to show you the same sentence as a plural, teams is the antecedent. Here, teams is plural. It has the S on it. We're talking about more than one team. So all in this case is plural, and then this pronoun has to agree with it because it also is plural. And so that is a quick overview of indefinite pronouns that we introduced, and then we had a handout to practice them. The first thing we did is actually reviewed our different types of pronouns, which I'm not going to do right now, but those are in your notes. There are 8 different types of pronouns that you do need to be familiar with, so make sure you're studying them. And then I gave you the chart again. So we did some practice of looking for and identifying our indefinite pronoun. All of the tourists want his or her or their own monster stories to tell. All is our indefinite pronoun. And so when we look back at our list, all is over here under singular or plural. And so, come on. So we have to find the antecedent. The antecedent refers to tourists, and tourists is plural, so all must be plural, so there has to be plural. Okay, and we call this agreement in number. If one's plural, they all have to be plural. The next one says, none of the tourists have his or her or their questions answered. None is the pronoun. None is can be both, and so we have to look at what is it referring to. The antecedent is tourists, and if tourists is plural, then none has to be plural, and there has to be plural. One of the tourists said that in their or her opinion it was an ancient reptile. The indefinite pronoun is one. If we look at our list, one is always singular, so we don't have to do anything else except label it singular and decide which of these is singular, and that would be her. And so we label that singular. Number 4, several claim to have photos of his or her or their sightings. Several is the indefinite pronoun. Several is always plural, and so we don't have to look for an antecedent, and so there is always plural. Many display his or her or their very blurry photographs. Many is the indefinite pronoun. Many is always plural, and so we want there to agree with it because it is plural as well. So for the rest of the screencast, I'm going to just go through the correct answers here. So if you were absent or you want to study, I would try doing the rest of this page by yourself and then clicking back on here to check your answers. Alright, so number 6. No one has proved that their or his or her pictures are genuine. The indefinite pronoun is no one. No one is on our list as a singular, so we label it singular and identify which of these is singular, and that would be his or her. Everyone has a nickname for the monster. He or she or they call it Nessie. Everyone is the indefinite pronoun. On our list it's always singular, and so we want he or she because it refers to a singular. Scientists are curious, and several have done his or her or their own investigations. The indefinite pronoun here is several. Several is always plural, and so we want there to agree with it because there is plural as well. Each has presented his or her or their own theory about Nessie. Each is the indefinite pronoun. Each is singular, and so we want his or her because that refers to a singular. Most of the evidence has their or its problems, however. Most is the indefinite pronoun. It's under our column for both, so we've got to find the antecedent. Refers to evidence. And evidence can be singular or plural, and we kind of looked at this as our hint, the evidence. So we're thinking of evidence as a singular, which means most is a singular, which means we want its, because its is singular. The next section has a paragraph that had some mistakes in it, and so we had to go find the indefinite pronoun and then find where the agreement error was. So in the first sentence it says, no one could believe their eyes when this famous photo was published. We would find no one as our indefinite pronoun, and it is up here as a singular. The problem here is that we have their, and there is plural, and so we would want to change this, and I'm going to just change it to his instead of his or her. No one could believe his eyes when this famous photo was published. Most of the people had his or her opinions about the picture. The indefinite pronoun here is most. It's over here on our both columns, so we have to find our antecedent. It refers to people. People is plural, so most is plural, and so we want their to be plural, their opinions. And forgive my mousy handwriting. I'm not writing on the smartboard, so this is a little more difficult. The next sentence did not have an indefinite pronoun, so we're going to go to the next one. Many were crushed that his or her favorite photo of Nessie was not real. Many is our indefinite pronoun. If we look at our chart here, it's in the plural column. And so we don't have to find the antecedent, but we do see that his or her is singular, so we need to change this to many crushed that their favorite photo. Okay, and then the last sentence, everyone was angry that their beliefs were mistaken. Everyone's your indefinite. Everyone is singular, and so we would want to change this to a singular. His beliefs were mistaken. Okay, and this is really where I see most of the mistakes in student writing, is with this idea of everyone, someone, somebody, anybody. Those seem to be the biggest issue. And then the last section, same thing as before. Find the indefinite pronoun. All of the students in the class enjoyed his or her or their time away from class. All can be singular and plural, so we have to find the antecedent. Students, is plural, so all has to be plural, so we need their, because their is plural. Everybody brought his or her or their backpack with dry socks and shoes. Everybody is the indefinite pronoun. Everybody is always singular, and so we need his or her because it is singular. None of the students wanted to miss his or her or their walk to the lake. None is the indefinite pronoun. None can be either singular and plural, so we have to find our antecedent, which is students. Students is plural, so none is plural, so we want their because it is plural. Neither of the teachers on the picnic wanted their or his or her students to have wet feet. Neither is the indefinite pronoun. Neither is always singular, and so we want his or her because his or her is singular. Okay, number 5. Some of the students said that they knew his or her or their way back to the lake. Some is the indefinite pronoun. It can be singular or plural, so we have to find the antecedent, which is students. Students is plural, so some is plural, so we want their because it's plural. Both of the teachers were happy with her or their class's behavior. Both is the indefinite pronoun. Both is always plural, and so we want their because it is plural. No one soaked his or her or their clothes in the lake. No one is the indefinite pronoun. It is always singular, so we want his or her because it is always singular. Some of the lake pollution was down from its or their all-time high. Some is the indefinite. It can be singular or plural, so we've got to find the what it's referring to, the antecedent, which is pollution. The pollution, we're talking about a singular, so some is singular, so its is singular. On the way back, everyone quickened his or her or their pace. Everyone is the indefinite pronoun. It is always singular, so his or her is going to be singular. Okay, and so that was our practice of indefinite pronouns. This is the last of the 8 pronouns that we have to study, and so at this point you should just be reviewing all the different types of pronouns and knowing some examples of each of them and how to use them in sentences correctly.